And we're back here on Buckeye Talk. Stephen Means, Nathan Baird, Andrew Gillis, and we have been ranking the 10 most valuable people to the Ohio State football program in its pursuit of a national title in the 2024 season. We went through the first 9 people. If you're watching this on YouTube, you got to go listen. Go get the full pod wherever you find podcasts to get that full list of people. But this is our number one guy, and it was number one for everybody. I had him number one. The Texers had him number one. Nathan and Andrew both had him number one. He had 15 first-place votes overall, plus us 3. We counted as first-place votes as well. But overall score, 21.8. 8-point difference almost, Nathan, between him and everybody else on the list, and it makes perfect sense. Nathan, you had this guy number one, Chip Kelly, number one. Why did you put him at number one, and was he emphatically the number one guy on the list for you like this?
The way that the question was phrased was who are the most valuable people for Ohio State to win a national championship in 2024? Ohio State had a national championship defense in 2023, did not have a national championship offense in 2023. He's the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. He's the guy who is going to be instrumental in helping lift this offense beyond what it could do last year. And by the way, that offense last year doesn't have Marvin Harrison Jr., and we don't know how good the quarterback play will be this year, regardless of what Chip Kelly's influence is going to be. And I think that both by taking this off of Ryan Day's plate, anybody Ryan Day had hired to be the offensive coordinator would have taken those duties off of his plate and allowed him to focus on other things. So that alone isn't really on Chip Kelly. That was why I had Ryan Day ranked as high as I did. He already made that decision. It's not a thing Chip Kelly is doing to just be calling plays. But to be calling plays as Chip Kelly is what makes him as valuable as he is, because he is someone with a long history of being innovative and being creative and being assertive and being able to attack defenses in new ways, and to look at a roster and come up with maybe things that would very likely be outside of Ryan Day's comfort zone in how you attack a team. You know, we've talked a lot on this list over 2 episodes of this podcast about receivers and quarterbacks and offensive line. We didn't mention any running backs, and it's very likely that that's going to be the strength of this team this year, is being able to just go out and run the ball down people's throats almost at will, depending on how this offensive line comes around. And that's Chip Kelly's brand of football. Not that they won't do dynamic things with quarterbacks and this passing game too, and they have to, because that's where a lot of their talent is. But him coming into this program at this specific moment with Trevin Henderson and Quinshon Judkins and mobile quarterbacks, it's going to look different, I think, than what it would if Ryan Day was still calling the plays for this offense. I think that this team's chances of winning a national championship are better with Chip Kelly calling plays than with Ryan Day calling plays, both because I think this is more Chip Kelly's wheelhouse and because of what it means for Ryan Day getting to be the CEO that he needs to be in all of the ways for this program.
So that's why Nathan had him number one. Andrew, why you have him at number one?
Well, I mean, he touches everything that I think needs to be an improvement from last year's team. I think that, they need better quarterback play. Who's the quarterback's coach? Who's going to be the guy that's leading the charge for whatever the offense the quarterback is going to be running, right? I mean, there are going to be certain plays and packages that Will Howard likes that maybe Devin Brown doesn't, or Will Howard's better at that Devin Brown doesn't, or vice versa. Or if Devin Brown's the guy, there's going to be certain things that you have to play that Devin Brown is better at. And that's just the way football works. And that's going to be Chip Kelly's responsibility. We've talked about the offensive line. Well, what if the offensive line doesn't take that step forward that we're all anticipating? What if there are still some issues or maybe some injuries or whatever has to happen with that offensive line? And now you've got these 2 great running backs that you have to figure out how to get the ball to and how to run the ball effectively. Well, Chip Kelly, I don't know if you heard this before. Chip Kelly can scheme up a run game, and Chip Kelly can do some things in the run game that are pretty unique. That's his responsibility. And that's his responsibility to, if the offensive line is good, to scheme a running game around that. If the offensive line is not good, if the offensive line is still kind of an issue against some of these bigger teams, you got to find a way to scheme around that as well. Got to find a way to get these receivers involved. How do you get the receivers involved while maximizing the run game? How do you get, there are just so many different on Saturday things where I think you just map out and you're like, man, Chip Kelly has a big job this year. And I just, the level of value and the level of importance he has to this team, both in instruction and, in kind of coaching and things like that, but in schematics and then how it looks on Saturday. Chip Kelly, to me, it was, all right, when I make this list, it's Chip Kelly, and then who am I going to put 2 through whatever? So, yeah, Chip Kelly was pretty clearly number 1 for me.
So here's how I made him number 1. Back in 2016, Ohio State's offense was horrid, and it had a really good defense. Its quarterback play was shaky at times at best, and its offense had one real consistent weapon named Curtis Samuel, and it ran through him. And it worked, and then they got up against Clemson, and they got shut out and failed to score a single touchdown in that game. And after that game, Urban Meyer went out and got Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson and said, fix it. And then 2017 happened, 2018 happened, 2019 happened, 2020 happened, 2021 happened, and 2022 happened. For 6 straight years, the offense became the pride and joy of Ohio State. Quarterback play. They had years where the run game was awesome with J.K. Dobbins, Heisman Trophy quarterback, everything under the sun. And then in 2023, 2016 kind of replayed itself a little bit, right? Quarterback play was shaky at best, awesome defense. Offense was kind of horrid at times. Some of that was injuries, right? Travion Henderson missing some time there. But one consistent weapon, his name was Marvin Harrison Jr. He was pretty awesome. Shaky quarterback play, and then they ended the season failing to score a touchdown in a bowl game. And then Ryan Day went out and got first he went out and got Bill O'Brien, and then Bill O'Brien got hired to be a head coach. So he had to go back out on the road, and he found his mentor, and he said, come fix it. So here we are again. A year after the offense was the problem child for the first time in quite a long time, the head coach made a very significant decision about his career. As Ryan Day's entering his 6th year as a head coach, and he just made a very significant decision by giving up the controller to another person. Now, a person he trusts maybe more than anybody else on the planet when it comes to football, but he gave up the controller, and he told him to fix it. He went out and got a transfer quarterback and told him to fix it. So, yeah, Chip Kelly is, I think, the most valuable thing because he's being tasked with fixing the thing that was a problem a year ago so that it's not a problem this year, and maybe it's part of the weapon along with this defense in giving Ohio State maybe its most complete team since 2019, which was the last time where it was so complete where you go, why didn't that team win a national title? Oh, because there was a super team in Louisiana and another team with a number 1 pick at quarterback in Clemson, right? That's what stopped Ohio State. 2 other decade great teams stopped Ohio State. We don't know if there's a Joe Burrow LSU team out there right now. We don't know if there's a Trevor Lawrence Clemson team out there. Maybe George is that, but Carson Beck ain't no Joe Burrow. Maybe Oregon has those pieces around them, and Dylan Gabriel ain't no Trevor Lawrence, but Ohio State might have a 2019 team again. And it's because Ryan Day went out and found his mentor and said, fix my offense. This used to be the great thing about Ohio State, and there was a problem last year. So he's tasked with fixing that. That means getting the quarterback play back to where it's supposed to be. That means having more than just one guy be a weapon, even if that just means guys being healthy. But Chip Kelly has had some really good offenses in his career. He's never had quite the level of weapons he's had here at Ohio State, and he's being tasked with maximizing it. Because if he doesn't, that could be the thing that once again holds Ohio State back from being a national champion. So that's why I had him number 1. That's why Nathan had him number 1. That's why Andrew had him number 1. And I'm pretty sure some combination of all 3 of those answers are why our Texans had him as the overwhelming favorite, number 1. Like I said, by my formula, 21.8 was his score. That's 8 points higher than literally everybody else we've talked about on this podcast. Get the text 614-350-3315 if you want to hear your voices heard, if you want news, analysis, anything else. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. That'll wrap up this Tuesday pod. For those of you who are watching this small segment on YouTube, go find this full pod. It's anywhere you find podcasts. I promise this was a fun episode. I thought it was interesting to just kind of pick the brains of our texters and pick the brains of Nathan, myself, and Andrew as well. That'll wrap up this Tuesday pod, though. For Nathan Baird and Andrew Gillis, I'm Stephen Means, and that was Buckeye Talk.